Hey friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Kent Smith, and this is the 4th time I've tried this intro. Here we go. We need some houses for our town of Destitute in our Barely Making It Railroad. And what better way to do it than to build some shotgun houses? These are currently available. We're gonna go ahead and tear it apart, grab a cup of coffee, and let's build some houses. Let's get at it. Now, before we get into opening up this package and taking a look at all of the different varieties and different ways that we can go ahead and build these, I want to thank our sponsors. First and foremost, definitely San Juan Details for supplying us with today's kit. Also want to thank Excel Blades and Tools for supplying us with all of the tools that we need to assemble the kit. And last but certainly not least, Bob Smith Industries for supplying us with all of the adhesives that we need to assemble each kit. So let's get at it. And while I'm thinking about it, this is my book and it's available on Amazon. It's A Life Spent Chasing Trains. It's a pictorial book that has over 260 photographs, color photographs of pictures that I've captured all over the US, primarily a lot of narrow gauge stuff, but it is a great book. I'll throw a link down in the description. Now I got to tell you, this is always a bit of a challenge because for me to do it like this, because the camera is actually in front of my face and I'm reaching around the tripod and whatnot. But while the package says Grant Line Products, this is now actually made, if you look closely, by San Juan Details, and they actually purchased the Grant Line products, and so everything that was available, or pretty much everything that was available with Grant Line, is now available through San Juan Products. I'll put a link down in the description for this as well. But let's just go ahead. We've opened up the kit. Now, if you aren't familiar with shotgun houses, while they might have been popular out west, let me tell you, they are all over the U.S. and in places that you probably wouldn't think of. For example, my wife and I actually stayed in a Airbnb that was a converted shotgun house. And it was built in the late 1800s and still being used today. So they are definitely out there. They can fit on just about any model railroad and just about any era. And what's really nice about this kit is that you can build the same house 3 different ways. That's kind of exciting. And you can see I've got everything kind of set aside and set out. It comes with 3 houses, 3 outhouses, 1 for each house, obviously, and a full assortment of parts, and you can assemble it. If you look at the picture, this can be assembled in a variety of different ways. And so you can take essentially the same house, change it up a bit, and be really creative, and you have an entire small little town. If you get a couple of these kits, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're actually going to use 2 kits altogether to make our small little town. Now that I've got everything painted, we're going to assemble one house. There's actually 3 houses that come in the kit, and they can be assembled in a variety of different fashions. We're going to assemble just the one that you see here. And in this particular building, we have painted this kind of a flat tan with a flat dark brown accents and window trim, followed by black roofing material. That all of this, again, is supplied inside the kit. The instructions are fabulous, and I just want to take a moment and just point those instructions out. When you look at the instructions, they kind of give you an introduction based on the houses that were found on Reese Street in Silverton, Colorado. A typical shotgun house kind of looks like this. Some have porches, some don't. This shows it with the porch. and a little lean-to on the back side of the house. This is one way that you can make these. Now, the reason why they're called shotgun houses is, in theory, you could fire a shotgun through the front door and it would exit out the back door and not hit anything. It was essentially a walk-through house. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, we actually stayed in a shotgun house in Indiana as a bed and breakfast. It's really a cute little home that was built in the late 1800s. Another thing, just to kind of point out a little history here, is a lot of these homes were built because of taxes. See, taxes were based on, property taxes were based on how much land you took in the street area. So if the home was made narrow in the front, you took less land in the front, and therefore it paid less property tax. And so the homes were built very long. That's just one story that I heard. Your mileage may vary. As far as the parts identification, this is really, really good. All of the parts are numbered that you see right here, and they're also numbered on the sprue. If we can get a sprue here. This one's kind of painted, but the little tabs kind of indicate either on the back side of the parts, or you'll see the tab where it is identified. So very easy to find your parts. That's really, really good. Again, some other ideas of footprints that you see here. The nice thing about the lean-tos is you can really have the same house but change it up a little bit, and that's what we plan on doing with all three kits. When you're separating plastic parts from the sprues, you want a sprue cutter. And the reason why you want a sprue cutter, and I'll show you right here, is you can get a nice even cut without damaging the model. And there's very little trim that you need to sand at that juncture. This is especially true when you get into some of the finite parts, such as these windows. Just using a sprue cutter really makes life really easy. I highly recommend that you invest in a sprue cutter, and that will save you a lot of grief and a lot of aggravation, a lot of extra time involved in sanding and whatnot. You can see just how clean that is. So again, just using a sprue cutter really does a really good job at separating all of those tiny parts from the sprue. The instructions call for gluing one side and one wall together, and then gluing another side and another wall together. And so I've already gone ahead and glued that wall. I take a little bit of CCA, blah, 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 blah. I take a little bit of CCA and just kind of put it right there where the other wall is going to join. And there's not a lot of glue there, just a little bit, just enough really to hold it in place. Now on my Excel cutting mat, I use the squares as kind of a guide to just hold things in place long enough for the CCA to set. I don't use a lot of glue for this, and the reason being, quite honestly, is if I put a blob of glue there, and for whatever reason I need to separate this wall, then I just got a real headache. And I don't like headaches. And so just a little bit of glue holds that wall together. The other thing, and call it a tech tip if you will, but I make sure that I've got the one wall kind of facing me so that I don't make the mistake and glue that wall on the wrong side of the other wall, our front wall or back wall or side wall, so that when I get ready to glue this all together, I've got a structure. So just a little tech tip. I've been dumb enough to actually do that in the past, and so thought I'd share with you some of my grief so that you can create your own grief. After we've got our two front and wall back sections, the instructions say to after we have our front and side wall sections glued together, the instructions next call for gluing one of those sections to the floor. So I've gone ahead, I painted the floor. If you're going to block the windows, you probably don't need to paint the floor, but I painted the floor. And it's not really necessary. Just wanted to let you know that. So we're going to go ahead and start. Our instructions call for us next to go ahead and apply some glue to the floor and then glue one of the wall sections on at a time. So make sure that you put glue on the right sides for your wall sections. I've done that here. We're going to go ahead and put the wall on. I'm going to take a little piece of paper just in case I have a little bit of excess glue drip. I don't want to get the glue on my mat. You can do one of two things at this juncture. You can use some light pressure and just hold things in place for a second, or you can use the CCA accelerator. I'm using Bob Smith Industries glue for this entire kit, and they do have some accelerator. Comes in a little handy spray bottle. I don't necessarily find that critical to have. And now you see exactly why I put a piece of paper down. Is got a little bit of oozing out there. There it is from the bottom. There's the side. We're going to let this fully set, and then we'll go ahead and glue the other side on. Our kit comes with two different types of lean-tos that we can use. A small one or narrower one, and a wider one. The side walls are the same for either one of the lean-tos that we choose. We also have two different floors to fit the two different sizes. Usually the narrower one is going to go out the back of the shotgun house, and the wider one usually goes along the side. Although they'll both fit that way, I'm going to choose to use the wider one and put it on the side option of the structure. That you can do with the home is, let's say this is where our lean-to, the wider lean-to is going to go. We can take the floor for the smaller one, put it right there, and use that as a back porch. We can use the roof section for the smaller one and extend that out, and we have ourselves a back porch. So again, lots of variations that we can do with the basic structure. And here's what the three houses look like once they're all together. Now, I'll show you some differences to each one of the houses. So this one here we really did in the shotgun style. If you look at that, it is pretty much front to back, just the way you see it. I did put a tar paper roof on this one, and it might just be easier if I just kind of turn the model all the way around so you can get a good view of what we did there rather than me just keep moving the camera. And there and there. And again, we did, the tar paper roof, kind of lightly weathered it as well. If we move on to the next house, we've got it here. Now, if you'll notice, we did a porch on this one. This wasn't actually in the plans. I'm going to show you or tell you how I did that. And how essentially that was done was we took a roof for the bigger lean-to and kind of cut that down, and it gave us two sections, one here and one here. So we were able to add a front porch using this roof section. We still have a leftover section, which means we could actually, if you think about it, put a smaller porch here on the front of this house if we wanted to. Like so. We opted not to do that though, but we may do that a little later. Now, our third house is actually right here. And I have this as a removable roof so that you can kind of see inside. And I did the same thing here as a removable roof so you can kind of see inside. Now, if I wanted to paint the walls and actually install an interior, I could. I also wanted to show you what we did as far as window coverings in this one. So you'll notice that we have shades all the way around. And we did that for this just to kind of be a little bit different with the other two houses. Now I'll probably more than likely end up doing a tar paper roof. But right now I haven't really done anything with this roof other than assembled it and painted it. Now, let's talk about this lean-to for a second, because this is obviously different than the lean-to on this one. We'll kind of put these side by side so that you can see the differences here. The plans originally called for the lean-to to be further back. And if I were to turn this around, you'll pick up on this right away. That's a dead wall, meaning there's no door, there's no window. But if I put that in the front like you see here, I had to cut a window there because I did not like this look as a front of a house. This would be the back end of a house, but it would have been very unattractive doing that. So the kit gives you extra doors and windows to work with, and I just opted to cut a hole in this wall and did that very carefully with a Dremel tool, and then kind of filed it using my Excel file and filed a hole so that I could get a window in there. And the pipe here, the stove pipe, is actually a piece of sprue. And it was a sprue. I just sanded off the edges, used a little piece of cardstock to go over the top of that sprue, and that became a chimney. So that is literally how I modified this. Now, I might end up taking that small piece of roof that's left over and putting it here in the front. I haven't quite decided if I want to do that. I almost kind of like the feel of how that looks right there. But there you go. That is what literally this looks like. One kit, or one bag I should say, of 3 house kits, and each one done differently, and really like the results of how that all came out. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Have a wonderful day, and you all be blessed.